Welcome to the Space for Grace podcast, a place where you can come as you are, hear genuine conversations about women's holistic health, and leave educated, inspired, and encouraged about your health and fitness journey. Get ready to find freedom to flourish in your physical, mental, and spiritual health. I'm your host, MK, and I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the Space for Grace. Hey guys, I'm super excited for this episode because I have my husband Brett here with me.
Toodaloo.
We are gonna have a good chat today. We'll, I'm sure, share a little bit about our story and how we came to be a couple and be married and all that good stuff. But we're gonna talk about our health journeys along the way, how we navigate being healthy together as a couple, as well as Brett can give some insight on being in a relationship with someone who has PCOS. So we'll talk a little bit about that and just what it's like for each person of the relationship, whether they're the one with the chronic illness or without the chronic illness. Just give some insight and advice from both sides. First, let's share a little bit about how we met and how we started dating. I would love for you to talk about that from your perspective.
My perspective. Well, we met when we were both working at a church in Franklin. Mm-hmm. You were doing the girls director position, so like basically youth pastor. It was a Baptist church, so Baptist churches don't make women pastors. That's a whole argument you can get into on your own. You can deal with that later. But she was basically the youth pastor, but over all the girls, high school and middle school. And then I was the communications resident, so I had just gotten out of high school. I was doing photo and video and stuff for the church and live stream help and all that kind of stuff. And then we met in the hall.
You were in school for
I was in school for a film certification. So working on that, learning that kind of stuff. When I moved down there, I had a girlfriend at the time. Boo. Don't want that. And
I'll interject here because when I moved to Franklin, you moved a week later.
Yeah.
So I met you after I had been at the church for a week.
You moved in July. I moved in August.
And then when I first saw you, I thought you were really cute. And I tried to talk to you, but you were super shy. Like, you're an introvert now, but you've gotten a lot more extroverted. But at the time, just out of high school, and you grew up at like a very small private school, so you were like super, super shy. But then I found out you had a girlfriend back home in Memphis, and so I was like, okay, friend zone, and we were just like coworkers, acquaintances for really that first whole year that we knew each other.
And while I had a girlfriend, my mom was like, who's that girl singing on stage? You should get her number. You should learn more about her. I was like, that's Madison. We work together.
Oddly enough, my mom had never really been like encouraging of any of my previous relationships. She just had always like remained neutral. But as soon as we started kind of talking and getting to know each other, she was like, so are y'all a thing yet? Are you and Brett dating yet? Like she really liked you, which was unique.
I have that effect on moms. She's listening to this too.
Oh my gosh. So long story short, that's how we started dating. We were both finally single, hung out all summer. I think you called me your girlfriend on 4th of July.
Yes.
Over the phone, accidentally. But we had started dating.
Yes.
And then we only dated for 11 months before we got engaged.
Yep, got engaged for 4 months, then got married in October of 2022.
Yep.
Spent the last year and a half working hard at marriage. It's been both amazing and also difficult at times, but it's been good. I've been learning a lot. So now we can talk about what we've learned about.
Yeah. We've been married 2 years this October.
Yeah, it'll be 2 years in October, so it's a little over a year and a half now.
Yeah. Another fun fact real quick, we booked our honeymoon before we booked our wedding.
Yeah.
So And before we got engaged.
Before we got engaged, too.
Because when we were engaged, we were long distance.
Yep, I was in South Carolina. She was in Tennessee, moved from Franklin to Memphis, back to her parents' house for a little while. So I only had like 2 weeks out of the whole summer to propose. So she knew it was coming. So we went ahead and booked it. I had already had the ring, booked that, then just had to find a venue that matched our specifications and the date we needed. So,
yeah, we really loved the Bolt Farm Treehouse idea. So that's why we went ahead and booked it, because we knew we were going to get married in the fall. It was like one of the only weekends available. So we just had to go ahead and book it so that we knew we'd be able to do that trip. And then we built our wedding around that weekend. So
cool.
All right. Well, that's a good recap of our dating, engaged, married.
That's just the highlights.
Just the highlights. So let's rewind a little bit back to when we were first talking, getting to know each other, first started dating. Mm-hmm. I think pretty early on in talking, I shared with you about PCOS. Do you remember at all? I know it was a long time ago, but do you remember how that went and how that affected you, like what you were thinking when I first shared that with you?
I don't remember exactly when you shared it with me. All I know is that you did at some point, and I was pretty unbothered, honestly. Yeah. Not that I didn't care, but I didn't care that you had anything. I was fine with that. Mm-hmm. It didn't change my perspective of you. Like, I didn't...
Do you think that was because you didn't fully understand what PCOS entailed, or because you just accepted it and wanted to just continue dating because you knew you wanted to be with me?
Yeah, I think it was more just a personality. I think you didn't have cancer and we're going to die in 3 months, so it wasn't like...
Would you have broken up with me?
No, I wouldn't have. I'm just saying, like, it wasn't like as dramatic as something like that, to where it's like, it makes no sense for us to date. Like, I would love to be with you and hang out with you for the next 3 months while you're dying with cancer, but you didn't have that. You just had PCOS, which is a manageable thing. Like, I was like, I don't really know what this is, but is it life or death? Like, are you going to die soon? Like, no. Well, then it doesn't really affect that much. It affects our day-to-day and affects kind of our lifestyle decisions, but does it affect your you as a human? And can you love me back and I love you? No, it's fine. Yeah. We can deal with it. Other people also have... I have my own issues. You have your issues. It's fine.
I know a lot of women with PCOS are unsure when to bring it up and unsure how the other person is going to take it. And it can be complicated to explain, like, what it is. Like, sometimes you're diagnosed with it and you don't even fully understand how to explain it to someone else. So it can be daunting and scary when someone is dating someone to bring it up. And I think particularly for people who want to have kids, the fact that it could make it more difficult to become pregnant if it's not already, really well managed and under control. That scares some people when they're dating. So what advice would you give to the woman who has PCOS that's scared to bring it up when they're starting to date someone and getting a little bit serious with someone? And then what advice would you give to a man who is hearing that for the first time, how to react to that?
I think the advice that I would give to a woman that has PCOS is, you are probably more worried about it than they will be. And if they're actually worried about it, they're not a good fit for you.
Yeah.
Because honestly, it's not a big deal. Like, it is a big deal. It's a big deal, but what I'm saying is it's not conversationally, like, it's not going to ruin a conversation. It's not going to ruin a relationship because of something you can't control. It's like, if you bring it up and they are get upset about it, or like decide not to pursue things, then it's not meant to be. You don't want to be with that person.
Right.
So I think it's like,
you want to know at the beginning of the relationship if they're going to be there for you and support you.
That's why I think it's like, bring it up on the first date. Like, if you're having a first date with somebody
If it's a natural
Yeah,
kind of
but I
conversation.
mean, if they ask about your life story, which most first dates that I've been on have been that way, like just tell me about you. Like I was diagnosed with PCOS, or I have this other chronic illness. Like if you have diabetes, please tell me you have diabetes. Like I want to know, because if you
Right.
have an insulin issue and I don't know, and you pass out
Yeah.
on the floor, I got to be there. I got to figure out what to help you with.
Yeah, it's
Like
important.
it's very important to know, and like I don't want to take you out to Chinese and it's like I can't have anything here because it all has gluten. Like
Yeah, that's true.
you have to you need to just go ahead and tell them, because then you might have a horrible first date experience because they may want to take you out to Chinese food or ice cream. It's like I can't have ice cream because I can't have dairy.
Right.
So,
Just be honest up front. Like, I don't eat dairy or
Yeah.
whatever it is. And you don't really have to get right into why at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, go on the date, see if it's going to go any further. If it comes up naturally in conversation, feel free to talk about it. I am an oversharer and I love to just spread awareness about PCOS, so I talk about it to anyone and everyone when it comes up.
Yes.
But someone who's maybe not as comfortable yet sharing it, maybe their PCOS is newer, I think maybe, like, in my head I'm thinking third date, if you see it continuing and you want to continue dating and seeing each other.
I just feel like if you've made it to the third date, surely you have mentioned that you have a chronic illness or you have some type of diagnosis of some type.
Maybe, but some people don't go that deep right away, especially if they're just dating multiple people. You never really adult dated.
I guess so, but I just feel like me as a person as well, I don't have any chronic illnesses, but I feel like it would just come up in conversation. I would ask that question. And I guess that goes into what advice you have for a guy hearing it for the first time. If you're a guy, that's a question you need to ask somebody. Okay, actually, I take that back. If you're going into a relationship and you're looking to date,
That one person.
if you're looking to just date and you're just dating, you may not ask that question. If you're trying to date to find a wife, on the first date, I'm asking that question. I'm asking what you do. I'm asking like future questions. Like very quickly, you and me communicated like career, like what we wanted to do for careers, what we wanted to do, children, what we wanted to do, health-wise. Like we very quickly talked about it. And I think that if you're wanting to get married at some point, like finances need to come up very quickly. Children need to come up very quickly. So yeah, that may be...
Before we were official, we had shared our testimonies with each other,
That too.
which kind of is your life story.
Yeah.
So we kind of knew each other's life story, like at least the basics of it, before we were officially even in a relationship. So I think, if you're dating seriously and dating to find a partner, find a spouse, be together long term, it will just come up as part of your life story that you're sharing with each other.
Even if you don't go into super heavy detail, I think it just needs to be mentioned. Like I was diagnosed with something. Like it's just a good thing. I think it's just a good thing to say. If I was diagnosed with something, I would share it. Yeah,
I think as soon as you start to get serious and think you want to continue dating that one person,
you're thinking only in that circumstance, not even if it's just like I want to get married, and you just tell them on the first date?
I don't think you need to bring it up unnaturally on a first date.
Gotcha.
Or even on a second date. I think as soon as you're like, okay, I want to date you and only you, and I want to start to get serious, then bring it up, even if it's natural or not.
Gotcha.
But because some people are a lot more private with how fast they trust people, what they share. I'm just an open book with everyone, and it's my job. So maybe you're used to it being my job and me just talking about it all the time.
Yeah, you just tell everybody all the time.
Can you address like how a guy should ideally react when a girl is sharing something like this?
I would say first, don't really give a major reaction. Like if you hear something, just not don't react, but just be like, oh, cool. Okay. Not was like, oh, cool, actually. Just be like, oh, how has that affected your life? Or, oh, how is that, whatever. So just like, don't give a major reaction. Don't be blown away by it. Kind of like
asking more clarifying questions.
And then just be curious. Just ask a couple questions about it, because then they can share as much or as little as they want to. They could just be like, oh, I just wanted to tell you, it's kind of new, so I don't really understand all of it, but I was recently diagnosed with, or they could be like you were and flood you with all of it. Like, I don't eat dairy, I don't eat gluten, I don't eat legumes and beans and stuff. And I'm like, what's a legume? She's like, it's a bean. So I get to learn a little bit about foods.
Yeah.
So just
and
be
you
curious.
even ended up cutting out gluten when we started dating, which has helped with like IBS issues and stuff you've had in the past. I think be curious is good, like especially if you haven't heard of it or you aren't quite sure what all it entails. Asking her questions of like how it affects her life, maybe what symptoms she specifically has, because PCOS can look so different from one woman to the next, how it manifests itself. I think asking how you can support her is huge. Like, that is really good to hear that.
Like saying the words, how can I support you?
Yeah, especially if you're talking about being in a serious relationship. Like, what do you need from me? How do you think this will affect us? Like, do you need me to just, like, be there for you when you're having a bad day? Do you need help with anything?
Gotcha.
And that'll kind of show you too where she's at with managing it and how she's managing it. And it's good to know the signs of if she's having a bad day.
Gotcha.
And being aware of like, oh, maybe she's having a bad day because of like a PCOS flare up. So being aware of that, being patient, and that kind of leads into how it affects you actually during your relationship. So how would you say me having PCOS has affected our relationship since we've started dating, marriage? Yeah.
Yeah, well, PCOS has a lot of various symptoms that come out. It's kind of, to me, it's random. To you, it may not be, but to me, it can feel random at times. Like having trouble getting up in the morning is one that's always been a struggle, especially for you, is just for some reason getting up in the morning. Even if we do go to bed at a good time, which I try really hard, and that's something too, is like getting in a good nightly routine and going to sleep between 9 and 9, like getting ready for bed between 9 and 9:30 and trying to be asleep by 10 o'clock so we can get up at 6. Even if we are in bed at 9:30 and trying to sleep, like sometimes getting up at 6 just is really difficult for you. And then I would say mood swings has also been the other one that's probably biggest.
That's probably what affects us at our relationship the
Yes,
most.
that's true. But you having trouble getting up in the mornings can sometimes affect us a little bit, just because I don't.
Yes.
But yes, definitely. But moving past that, mood swings definitely is the number one, because sometimes you're feeling angry or happy for no reason, and it's just.
And I might not be angry at you. I might be sad and more in a like depressive mood sometimes. And I know that can be hard to know how to help.
Yeah.
Because when someone's depressed, they don't want to do anything. And it's hard to make them do things that they don't want to do.
And depression is definitely like a buzzword that a lot of people have recently started taking for granted, I feel like. But with PCOS, that's definitely an actual thing, is like deep lows and then maybe not high highs, but going from all of a sudden like normal to just drop off the face of the earth to, oh, I'm fine now. And then I'm like, you weren't fine 5 minutes ago. What? What happened? But it's not like it's all the time.
Right.
It's just
confusing.
It can be confusing at times. So that's definitely a factor that PCOS has played in our relationship.
What do you think some things you've done to help have actually like been beneficial and worked?
My first instinct is to fix it immediately, which usually does not work.
Say it again for the boys in the back.
My go-to recently has been to ask if there's anything that I can do or to help with, to which the answer is, I don't know. And then
Sometimes I come up with something, but
sometimes
not right
you
away.
come up with something. Yes, it's usually not right when I ask it. It's usually, I don't know what to do. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And then I give space. I just go, I'm not saying deal with it yourself, bud. Leave you alone.
And it's normally stress or fatigue at the root of whatever is going on.
It's normally stress or fatigue. Oh, I didn't sleep great that night, so I'm having this trouble today. Or I haven't worked out today, so I'm feeling a little bit stressed because I haven't had that release of working out today.
And sometimes if I'm fatigued, you tell me to do something like work out.
Yeah.
And I say, no, I don't want to do that. But
And
then in a little while, I end up doing it.
Yeah.
And I feel better.
I tell
Or
her every
it
time.
motivates me to, you know what? That's not what my body's asking for right now, but maybe I can go take a bubble bath and read my book for a minute.
Yeah.
And it just gives me permission to go do something that'll make me feel better.
I don't know if you've noticed, but one of my other go-tos recently is ask you if there's anything that you'd want to do or what would you rather be doing. And the first thing that you say, I just completely validate and you just do that thing. It's like if you say, I just want to get in a bubble bath and take a bath and read a book. I'm like, go do it.
Go do it.
Go do that thing. You work, because you work from home. This is your business. I come home from work and I'm usually the one cooking dinner. So like, if you need to work till 6, 7 o'clock, work till 6, 7 o'clock and take a 2-hour break during the day. It's fine with me. Not everybody has that luxury, but like, oh, I want to go for a walk when I don't have time. You do. It's fine.
Yeah.
Go for a walk. Take that time. Go to the pool. Get in the pool. Take that time that you need for your symptoms to clear, because with PCOS, stress is such a major factor. And if you're thinking about how sad you are, it's just going to make you more sad. So go do something to help yourself not be sad.
Some things you've already touched on that I just want to point out that I've also heard other PCOS women say has been helpful or they wish their partner would do, includes like going on a walk with them. Like, hey, let's get out of the house. Let's go on a short walk. You've done that for me before too, and that's a good thing to try. Especially
I don't do it enough. I do it.
Especially if someone is feeling fatigued or they've been sitting inside all day, saying, hey, let's go on a walk. Even just a 10-minute walk outside is often helpful and gives you a little mood boost, a little vitamin D. Another thing is you understanding my need for a good sleep schedule and to get enough sleep. And I can't fall asleep until you're in the bed. So we've had this discussion of like our bedtime is this time because we have to wake up at this time. And a lot of nights lately you'll be like, oh, it's 9:30, let's start getting ready for bed. You help me. It's not just me always asking you to come to bed. You're also like, we need to go to bed so that you can get a good night's sleep. And that's really, really helpful.
Yeah. The selfish part of me too is I don't want her to be to blame me in the morning for her feeling bad. But yes,
I would say like you kept me up if you kept me up, and you don't want that.
But yes, the main reason is like I guess it was 2 nights ago. It was like 10 o'clock, and I had just introduced her to Mr. Beast, and she was watching Mr. Beast, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's 9:54. We gotta go to bed. We can finish it in bed. So we got ready for bed. Probably didn't actually go to sleep till 11 o'clock that night because you finished the episode in bed. But we wouldn't have gone to bed till midnight if I didn't say anything. So it's good that I did. So.
Yeah. You also help with chores and you cook breakfast and dinner for us.
Tell that to my mom.
Which is huge. Like that takes so much stress off of my plate. Because I do not enjoy cooking at all. I'll do it, but you have just kind of been doing that for us since we got married. At first it was because my job, I worked late most nights, but you've continued to be the one to cook a lot for us. And also on the weekends when we're doing chores, we'll split our chores.
Yeah.
And there's even been some weekends where I'm so tired and stressed and overwhelmed, and you've said, let me do all the chores. And that's not every weekend because we need to share the load. We each need to give.
I usually don't clean the bathroom, though. I usually always leave the bathroom to her because I'm not going to do it right.
Yeah, you wouldn't clean it good enough.
But the rest of the house, as long as it's tidied up and I vacuum the cat hair.
And wipe the surfaces.
And take the trash out and stuff, then
yeah, you help with the dishes, you'll vacuum, you help fold your laundry, and some weekends I fold your laundry, but it's one of those things where we're both trying to give 100%. It's not 50-50. Some days one person only has 20% and the other person gives 80%.
Yeah.
But it's never a perfect balance. You just do what you can for each other, and there's been plenty of weekends where I just needed the day, but I was stressed, and so you were like, let me do the chores, and that was super, super kind and helpful of you. So
yeah, there's been other times where you clean and I've literally sat there and played a video game the entire time while you've cleaned.
Right.
And it's fine. But this past weekend, I went and got groceries while you had a slow morning, and then I came back. I played some video games while you did some cleaning, and then I just did the dishes. I think that was it. But it was
so good. Typically, if we're both feeling good and just splitting the chores, we know who does what, but we're willing to give the other person a break when they need it, and I think that's a big deal.
Definitely.
Another thing you've done is understand my nutrition needs ever since we started dating. And I told you that I couldn't have gluten or dairy, and I avoided processed foods and stuff like that. You just took that and ran with it and understood, where we could and couldn't go out to eat, and you figured out what meals you could cook for me for dates when we would cook for each other and eat together. So that was a big deal in supporting me with that, not making me feel weird or trying to pressure me to eat a different way. So
yeah, and that doesn't mean I had to change all of my diet restrictions too. Even now, I still eat cheese on my burger whenever we go out to dinner.
Yeah.
I cut out gluten, and before I had met her, I didn't realize that I was gluten intolerant.
Yeah.
My whole life, I had stomach issues. I still have stomach issues now. I need to do some gut health protocol stuff. But a major factor was gluten intake, and I didn't know what a gluten was. I didn't know what that was. You don't learn that with soul food from Somerville and Memphis. We eat bread for every single meal. Yeah. So I learned that, and now neither one of us do any gluten at all, and it's been amazing. I've experienced so much food. We even still do pizza with cauliflower crust and almond flour crust. We have all the same foods, but just in a different way, and it's been incredible.
Yeah. This can be our last question. Do you think there have been positives either in your life or in our relationship because of me having PCOS and the things that we've been through or that you've learned about health or anything like that?
Positives from that is specifically for myself is that I've cut out gluten. So my crippling cramps that I've had for my whole life, playing baseball, I'd sit in the back of the car on the way home, crying because my stomach hurt so bad.
After eating?
Yeah, after eating a simple Subway sandwich or a Dairy Queen. And I'm why does my stomach hurt so bad? Everybody else is loving it. And I'm I couldn't have gluten. That was the issue. I'd gone to hospitals, couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't have gluten. So that's been the biggest one. The second one is, for us as a couple, is we can relate to so many more people because someone with a chronic illness is so challenging, and which means we have to learn a lot about her chronic illness, but other chronic illnesses and how foods can affect different things. So in conversation with other couples, other people, we can really relate to a lot of different conversations and talk to a lot of different people about different things. And because we've tried all kinds of natural stuff. And then we both ended up working at a chiropractor for a little while. And I feel like I wouldn't have been open to working for a chiropractor if I didn't learn about all the natural ways you try to treat things, like not taking birth control. Well, what's a different way that we can manage symptoms if I'm not going to take birth control? Well, I can cut out gluten and dairy, or I can do weightlifting. Like, I don't care about that stuff. But now that I've been with you, I have been forced to learn about it because I want to help you. And then now I've understood, like, oh, these are the benefits of this. And now I've taken advantage of, I work out 4 or 5 times in a week, which is not like me at all. But now it's become my day-to-day thing. And I've talked to other people and other guys that I've known and be like, guys, you should try this stuff. And even I've helped a few people just be a lot healthier just from simple elimination stuff.
Yeah, it's made you learn about holistic health and natural ways to be healthy. And you don't have a chronic illness, but a lot of the things I've learned from having PCOS are also just healthy for any normal person.
Yeah, like don't eat processed foods.
Right. Mainly whole foods.
Yeah.
Like at least 80% of the time.
Apparently I'm a health nut now. I'm drinking poppy soda. What is wrong with me?
Yep. Turned you into a crunchy man. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No. I think Madison's doing a great job with this podcast. I think you're absolutely killing it. And anyone that is listening to this part of it, maybe it'll get clipped for a social media post or something like that. But having a chronic illness like PCOS is very, very difficult. And what Madison's been able to do with this business, whether it turns into the most multi-million-dollar thing or if it just stays small and she can only help a few people, every single thing that she's done has been so encouraging to me as someone without one. But I know it's been extremely helpful to people with chronic illnesses, and she's helped change the lives of people, and it's super cool to see.
Oh, thanks. I love you.
You can tear up. I love you too.
Are you gonna cry?
No, I'm fine. Stone cold.
Well, thank you for saying that. That's very sweet. And you've been a huge supporter and encourager of me, and
I love
not
business.
just through PCOS, but through starting Madison Cake Coaching. And yeah, so thanks for your support for me and the girls.
It was a good episode.
And you're not leaving because we live together.
Because we live together. I got to go cook dinner now. So.
All right. Bye, guys. See y'all next time. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Space for Grace podcast. Be sure to check out the description for any links or resources that were mentioned during this episode. And if you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to subscribe, share with a friend, and leave a review. I hope you're leaving today educated, inspired, and ready to flourish. This is Space for Grace.